Good morning, Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington. TGIF. Wow, it seems like I just said that. This is already the third Friday of January, the 15th, 2021. Wow, halfway through the month. We were just ringing in the new year and saying goodbye, so long, hope to never see you again to 2020. And now here it is, 15 days into the month. Wow, another chilly night last night, but who knows? I got a tea time in a few minutes here to get out and golf with a friend, so hoping to get out there and enjoy that sunshine today. Been taking walks with our dog every day. It's nice to be out, but it is strange to be out in January rather than huddled inside. Then again, we've got to get exercise. We can't just sit. We've been doing enough of that isolating. But isolating doesn't have to mean sedentary. If, in fact, sitting is the new smoking, then getting out and walking is the healthiest thing we can do. By the way, the old smoking is still the old smoking. It's still bad, too. Anyway, we've been looking at the book of Leviticus, the often bypassed, the often dreaded book of Leviticus. And I hope you're gaining not just a better understanding of what's in it, but really a better appreciation of how it describes what life was like for the people 3,200 years ago as they come into a land and now have to then learn how to occupy it, learn how to get along, learn how to conquer, learn how to live with the God who protects them, who claims them, who loves them, but who also will shape them with the rod and with fire. Yesterday I talked about a couple of new concepts that were introduced in chapter 16, the concept of the scapegoat and of Yom Kippur, the Festival of Atonement, commanded once a year on the 10th day of the 7th month. Well, chapters 17 through 27 deal with very specific situations, and they describe how the people are to behave. This is where we will get often the laws of Leviticus that are quoted by people who claim to be gospel preachers but want to use the Old Testament to beat people over the head and say, God calls you an abomination. Back then, God called people abomination, or called certain activities abominations, and we're going to get into those in these 11 chapters, chapters 17 through 27. There's some really sticky ones in there, some that we have to ask ourselves, to what degree do these apply today? But the thing is, if you're going to apply one of them and lift it out of context, then you'd better be prepared to do that for all of them. So you preachers who say, oh, I'm going to preach against the sins of this while ignoring everything else, beware of what you are doing. You are straining the gnat and swallowing the camel. You are perhaps the hypocrite, the Pharisee that Jesus was condemning. Be careful what you do with Leviticus. I remember a campaign once that the Episcopal Church had in trying to help people understand what the church offered. And this was an ad that they put in the paper that says, will you come back to church if we promise not to throw the book at you? That is some people's understanding of Christianity, that they are there to tell you what's wrong with your life so that you can be as self-righteous as them. Yeah. Lutheran understanding of Christianity is we are all sinners, and simultaneously, because of Christ and Christ alone, we can be saints, but we are not going to stop being sinners. The grave claims the sinner. The sinner lives on until the body dies. It's the way it is, and we're in a constant struggle, and never do we earn the right to take the book of Leviticus or any other part of the scriptures and beat others over the head with it, to use it as a hammer. Rather, it is to be sobering to say, let us examine our own lives and our community and ask what we can do to better support each other in the work of trying not to manifest the sinful self, the selfishness, the turned in on oneself, and trying to help each other manifest instead the love of God that helps us reach out to the neighbor, reach out to the stranger, reach out to the hungry, reach out to the lost, reach out to the rejected, reach out to the judged. Leviticus 17 is going to introduce two new concepts, just as Leviticus 16 did. And these are, one of them seem pretty normal. The other one, though, you're going to go, wow, really? That's where that comes from? Chapter 17. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the people of Israel, and say to them, this is what the Lord has commanded. If anyone of the house of Israel slaughters an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp, or slaughters it outside the camp, and does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to present it as an offering to the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, he shall be guilty of bloodshed. He has shed blood, and he shall be cut off from the peoples. This is in order that the people of Israel may bring their sacrifices that they offer in the open field, that they may bring them to the Lord, to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and offer them as a sacrifice of well-being to the Lord. The priest shall dash the blood against the altar of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of the meeting, and turn the fat into smoke as a pleasing odor to the Lord." Okay? Yeah. So you're slaughtering the goat or the whatever out in the field, and you then bring it and offer it, or a portion of it. What's wrong with leaving it out in the field? Well, not offering it, but it goes more than that. We have to read on. So that they may no longer offer their sacrifices for goat demons to whom they prostitute themselves. This shall be a statute forever to them throughout their generations, so that they may no longer offer their sacrifices to goat demons to whom they prostitute themselves. So they were still worshiping false gods. They were sacrificing to false gods. And somehow, where'd they get the idea of goat demons? Well, goats have horns. Okay, so when did demons get associated with goats? Well, they're taking goats, which have horns, and they're sacrificing them in the field to other gods. There's God who is good, and then there are contrary spirits. Any spirits associated with God, what we would call benevolent spirits or angels, are on God's side at God's command. But this is really one of the times that we have now mentioned this concept that there are contrary or maleficent spirits or demons. Demon is the word we use to describe an invisible power that is contrary to the power and will of God. And for the people who are dedicated to God, chosen by God to be the people of God, to take a goat or whatever and sacrifice it out in the field and pray to these demons, they're hedging their bets just in case this God gives us a better deal. They did it with the golden calf. They saw how that ended up. It didn't end up well. So these goat demons now become the abomination, the thing, and it says to which they prostitute themselves. And that gets into another whole practice, the temple prostitutes that were part of the religion of the worship of Baal and Astarte in the land of Canaan, to where the men would then take animals and sacrifice them, or take money, and then they would lie with the temple prostitute as an act of worship toward these other gods. And that was strictly forbidden by the God of Israel, because it violates the first commandment: I'm your God. Excuse me, I'm your God, period. It also violates the commandment about being unfaithful to the person you're married to. So there's a couple of them there, but mainly it was the unfaithfulness to God. And if you're unfaithful to God, you're unfaithful in every way of your life. You can't keep any commandments if you don't keep the first. But this idea that now we've got goats associated with demons, that's going to stay, and it's going to come all the way down, and it's going to filter through until finally the Lord of demons will appear as a goat with horns, and will get a name. The development of the concept of Satan goes all the way back to this time, to the forbidding of them sacrificing goats in the field. You sacrifice a goat, bring it to the temple. That way you know you didn't sacrifice it in the field, because it better not already have char on it when you bring it toward the altar. Second concept then, verse 10. If anyone in the house of Israel or aliens resides among you eats blood, I will set my face against the person, will cut that person off from the people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. I have given it to you for making an atonement for your lives on the altar. It is blood that makes atonement. Well, this goes back, of course, to the Exodus, when they were to take the blood of the lamb that they had sacrificed, to eat the lamb, roast it, and burn anything that was left, and to use the blood to paint the side posts and the header or the lintel over the top of the door. So then the angel of death came into Egypt, it would avoid the houses or pass over the houses on which the blood of the lamb. So the blood of the lamb is what allows them to be forgiven. And this is still true. This motif will continue all the way down until the time of Jesus, who will take that concept and transfer it onto himself. And he will then be the Lamb of God, whose blood sets us free from sin. And that will figure in Holy Communion theology. A lot of non-Christians go, you say you're washed in the blood of the Lamb? Well, first of all, it's disgusting. Second of all, it's contradictory. How do you wash anything in blood to make it clean? You wash it in blood, you make it bloody. Second of all, calling a human being a blood sacrifice, that's just plain weird. That's why the Christian message was often described as a stumbling block, as Paul said. It's a stumbling block for the Jews, and to the Greeks, it's just pure foolishness. That kind of talk, because it's symbolic talk that doesn't fit well with the people.